Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm Get Good Guy, and tomorrow sees Battlefield 5 receive its big update for February 2019. The date at the time of producing this video is February the 12th, and I'm going to provide for you a breakdown of the full patch notes which have just been released today. I'll go over what I consider to be the most interesting and important points so you can get an overall idea of the main impact that the patch will have on the game. But I'll also link to the notes themselves in the description if you want to read over all of the details for yourself as well. But let's begin with some information that hasn't actually made it into the patch notes. Yep, I have bonus details for you. These come from Jacob Ajmal, producer at DICE Stockholm. He said that the update also contains a potential fix for the performance issue that some players have been running into on PS4. It's not a guaranteed fix as they weren't able to reliably replicate the problem, but they think it should work and would like feedback on whether it has or not once the update goes live. The same story goes for getting stuck in the loading screen between matches on I believe all platforms. They've had problems replicating the issue, but there's a potential fix for it included and your feedback would again be appreciated. And then this is a big one. The update contains some improvements to visibility. Now at the time of recording this, it hasn't actually been confirmed what they intend to do about it. I've been checking constantly, but the info just isn't available yet. But I'll likely try the visibility changes out for myself after the patch goes live and get back to you. What I can say is that I'm very happy to hear they're doing something about it. Let me know how you feel about visibility changes in the comments below. Okay, so now let's get to some of the meaty details that are actually in the patch notes. Well, the 13th of February will see the start of a new week for the Lightning Strikes Ties of War chapter, and the reward will be the new Stug tank. Quick point here for some of my more dedicated subs. I don't intend to produce a fast unlock guide this week. I know, shock horror. I have done for the last 4 or 5, but I just have no interest in using vehicles to unlock another vehicle that I likely won't use. And I also don't feel comfortable giving vehicle tips when I simply don't use them. It would feel dishonest, and I'm sure a lot of you could do better without my input. I'm willing to sacrifice some views so that you guys don't get misled. So my next unlock guide will likely be next week now. Anyway, the update will also bring us the new co-op mode, Combined Arms. This is available for up to 4 players and lets you jump into 8 missions against AI enemies. So this is something great for you PvE fans that also still want to play with your friends. And as far as adding modes goes, we're also going to see the return of Rush. But not straight away. It will be available for, and at least initially, limited time in early March. Now from here, I'm going to run through a really quite extensive list of changes that the game will be experiencing and pick out the key points of importance. Remember, if you want to read the full list, you can find the link in the description. So let's start with probably the stuff that's going to be most interesting for a lot of you. Netcode, TTK and TTD improvements. Yes, we're actually getting somewhere with this. So, DICE are adding a new system that will ensure consistency between TTK, which is time to kill, and TTD, time to death, regardless of the network performance issues such as high latency, jitter, packet loss, etc. that players may encounter. With this change, the damage sequence from first bullet to last bullet hit will always properly be paced over time and will avoid bundling of damage, i.e. super bullets. A lot of you may be saying, what does that mean? Well, basically, things should line up a bit better now when you're playing in terms of when you think you get shot and when you don't, etc. But the main thing is that you won't suddenly take all the damage in one go. That's what super bullets alluded to. Now, you'll take the damage over a steady amount of time rather than it just, as they say, bundling up and all hitting you at once, giving you no chance to do anything and leaving you very confused. This is great news as long as they do a good job of it. I'm super happy to hear this one, and I know a lot of you will be as well. Onwards though, they've increased the amount of damage updates that can happen in a single packet. This will ensure that the damage is sent to players as fast as possible and avoid very delayed damage from weapons like shotguns. To me, this sounds like increasing the tick rate, unless I'm mistaken it's something else, but it sounds like it's something very similar to that if it's not that specifically. Basically, the game will check for damage more often, giving you smoother feedback in terms of damage dealt and damage taken. If the game is checking for damage more often, then you get a more reliable experience. This is also great news. Now, they've also fixed an issue that caused the client to receive an incorrect amount of damage that would get corrected by the server shortly after. In some cases, the health correction for the client would only happen when a new damage update happens, which led to a desync state where the player would try to self-heal or interact with other healing sources unsuccessfully. So now we know what was happening there. You shouldn't now have moments where you can't heal regardless of what you're doing. It was a bug which we now have explained to us, and it should now be gone, which again is really good news and something something I'm very happy to see go. Then they fixed an issue where the player's health would wrongly update due to incorrect high frequency prioritization. This would commonly happen if there are a lot of players in the area. They go on to explain that this is also another case where the self-heal wouldn't work, so it just looks like they're trying to completely wipe out that problem. Next up, they fixed an issue where players could still take bullet damage for too long from a player that was recently killed, especially if that player had high latency. When the player is now confirmed killed on the server, damage from that player will be rejected. This change will not affect grenades, rockets, and other projectiles that are not bullets. This sounds like the best thing they can currently do right now. Essentially, you won't be killed by players that have already died and thus trade with them if they're firing bullets. This kind of thing is really good, apart from there's going to be those annoying moments, which I've come across in other games, where you feel like you should still land damage, but you don't, because your connection doesn't line up with theirs and it feels unfair. But overall, this is probably the best they can do right now to fix the problem. They're also trying to improve the visual replication of projectiles, basically giving you a better idea of where you're getting shot from, and they've improved the HUD health updates when taking damage. But now we move on to vehicles. They've fixed an issue where players could destroy their own vehicles to gain points. The Blenheim Mark IF and Stuka B1, I think that's what they're called, now properly use flight zoom radius settings for the minimap. The Blenheim Mark IF and Blenheim Mark 1, god I'm struggling with those, I don't do vehicles, is again able to get more ammo when flying through the reload checkpoint for the primary weapon. The Churchill tank now takes damage as intended when getting hit on the front, sides and rear. They've increased the velocity and drag of all tank shells. The shells travel faster in short encounters, but have similar ballistic curves and velocity at distance. This makes tank fights at mid-range feel more powerful and immediate, without enabling tank sniping at long range. They've increased the armor value of heavy tanks by 25% against tank cannons. They've increased the damage of all tank shells versus infantry by 12%. This should make the tank shells properly lethal against infantry who are crouched, prone, or sprinting. They've slightly reduced the splash damage of the Piat against infantry, especially at close ranges. They've increased the amount of aim assist on vehicles to be equal to the soldier aim assist. It's no longer possible to danger ping a vehicle through smoke, and ragdolls now properly disappear after a player has redeployed after getting killed in a seat of a vehicle. So now we come to weapons, gadgets, and specializations. They've adjusted the weapon settle sway animation when moving from hipfire to ADS to better match the actual accuracy transition. Sniper decoys can no longer be placed upon each other to reach unintended areas. Rest in peace, all you mountain and building climbing enthusiasts. Players are no longer able to aim down sight with the squad reinforcement binoculars, which was causing a black mesh to block the player's view. I've had that so many times, so that sounds great to me. They've supposedly fixed an issue where ammo and health crates could sometimes fall through the game world. Everybody rejoice for crates that will actually stay on the ground. This is incredible news. We've finally done it, guys. Crates might finally work. And now we can move to specific weapon balance. So, shotgun slugs. They've increased 2 hit kill range to 30 meters from 25, and increased 1 headshot kill range to 50 meters when it was 35 when using the solid slug specialization. So basically, actually using a shotgun as a slug shotgun now is much more viable. Now the K7 has had its initial vertical recoil increased to 0.7 when it was 0.65, and it now decreases to 0.52 when it was 0.5 after 4 shots, and it's got increased horizontal recoil to 0.48 when it was 0.45, and apparently the recoil pattern has also changed. So basically the K7 is going to be harder to use now. The Turner SMLE has had its max damage reduced to 40 when it was 45. The M1944 has also had a damage reduction to 40 when it was 45, and a reduction to the range at which 1 headshot and 1 body shot is lethal to 30 meters when it was 35 meters. The Gewehr 1-5 has had its damage reduced to 36 from 40, and it's had a reduction at which 1 headshot and 1 body shot is lethal to 10 meters when it was 30 meters. That is a truly massive nerf on that one. Now, UI, HUD, options and assignments. Under advanced search, Frontlines no longer appears as Frontline Small and is once again able to find matchmaking servers. The indicator that shows when a player needs a health pack from a medic will no longer show if the player already is in the process of healing up. That one's awesome because I've wasted so much time trying to throw pouches to people that don't actually need them anymore. Then they have 1 point for something that just says stability, multiple crash fixes and stability improvements, so that sounds very vague but hopefully good. And then PC specific improvements. This update includes further optimization to DXR ray tracing performance and introduces NVIDIA DLSS to Battlefield 5. That's a lot of words, but it uses deep learning to improve game performance while maintaining visual quality. And that's where I'm going to round everything out. Like I say, there are quite a lot of things in these notes, and there's no point me reading out all the tiny ones ones to you, but I have covered what I think are the major ones, and hopefully it's interesting to you. And so that brings to a close my breakdown of the full patch notes for the February update of Battlefield 5. There's a lot in there and some of it is very encouraging, so be sure to let me know in the comments what you're most excited for from these details. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications and join my Discord server in the description and my pinned comment. Here's the Board of Awesome for the epic people who support the channel on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and love them all deeply and often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the links to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm Get Good Guy and I'll see you next time. Laters.